Hello there. This is Beth Green, otherwise known as Granny Rocks. And I am here today to talk to you about the question of what can you do if your partner doesn't seem to want as much affection as you? A listener's question. So I just had to answer it. So Elizabeth said hello, and hello, Elizabeth. So before we get into the show, I saw a kiss from Elizabeth. Thank you so much. Before we get into the show, let's hear from sweet baby James, who would like to introduce you to growth.
Yes, welcome to Granny Rocks Our World, where Granny shares her wit, her wisdom, and her uncommon sense with us every Monday and Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Pacific Time. So without further ado, take it away, Granny.
Okay. So what happened was Bob said, hi, Beth, and James.
Hello.
Carol is here too. Wonderful. Hello,
And Todd.
Bob and Carol. And Todd said, hi, Beth and James, and hi back to Todd. And Kate says, hi, lovies.
Oh,
Thank you so much. Well, how do you do? So love to love. Ooh, and a wave from Luann. So we're already doing great. We already have lots of love and friends. Oh, my God, there's more. Oh, Erica says, rock on, Granny. Well, you rock on, too, Erica. And Tracy says, hello. Well, so what happened was, we have this Facebook page, but we also have a YouTube channel called Granny Rocks TV. And we put all these shows on our YouTube channel afterwards, so that, you can go there anytime if you want to see any growth, to hear any of my music and so on. So I got a message from one of our viewers on YouTube. And this is what she was talking about, her pain. And she said, could I talk about this on one of the shows? So I hope you guys are okay with that. But, this is a sincere request. And I thought this is a common problem.
It is a very common problem where
Yeah.
one person feels more affection than the other.
Yeah. So let me see what I can do. So first of all, I want to bring it down into two parts. Why is there more affection on one side than the other? And the other is what to do about it. So why don't we start with the why? And of course, the why already breaks down into a million parts because you are talking to Granny. And, I always look at everything as deeply as I can. But the first question that I have is, this may sound pretty simple-minded, but is it even true? Is it true that the other person feels more affection or needs less affection than you do? And I'm not trying to psychoanalyze this woman. I'm just taking on the whole topic, right? Because how often is it that we interpret things a certain way and they just aren't that way? They're just the way they are, but they're not really the way we think they are, if you know what I mean. So the first thing is to really take a look at it. Is it that the person needs less affection, or they have a different way of wanting to be affectionated? You understand what I mean? So they may be looking for different signs of affection from you than you are from them. You may want sex or touch or whatever it is, and they might want attention, or are you listening to them, or
emotional intimacy.
Emotional, all of that stuff. So that's the first question that I would ask: is it the case? Helen says Richard and Helen are here. So glad to see both of you, Richard and Helen. So that's the first question. Is it actually true, or is it your interpretation of what is true? Then if your partner is really shut down, does that have to do with them? Like, you're putting it as they need affection less than you do, but maybe they're just more shut down than you are. Maybe they had some traumatic experiences as a child, and they as a child, that doesn't make sense. They as children. So, and they just, and what they need is some understanding and compassion, while you may actually be feeling sort of like cheated and angry. It would be, Irene said Irene's here. Hello, Irene. So, Karen, hi to you too. Hello back to you too, Karen. So is that, is the person actually shut down? And what does that have to do with them? And there are a lot of people who are shut down. Now, by the way, I am acknowledging in this that not everybody is straight. Not everybody is binary. There's all kinds of people, but it's the same pattern. It really doesn't make any difference who you are, what you are. The same kind of things happen between people. Not that I'm going to say that men tend to be more shut down than women. I would never say that. Would I say that? But anyway, in terms of affection, oh no, I wouldn't say that. But anyway, it could happen. So if it is true that your partner is shut down, can you not personalize it? Can you say my partner is shut down versus, oh, they don't want me, because it's like, oh good, when they don't want you, it's like, oh good. It's so much more painful than just saying, gosh, that my partner's so shut down, and how can I help them, right? Or, and I'm going to get into this in a minute too, more about the anger. Can you actually, because I can feel the anger in the questioner, right, is can you say my partner is shut down? They were blown away when they were 1 month old in a hospital in the London during the bombings in World War II. Or because they were molested, or God knows what might have happened to them. Or now then there's the other side, and of course I hate to say this, but I'm sure you're already thinking this out there. Are you a little demanding? And what does that mean? Are you desperate for some reason for that person? Now, that can be a really horrible spiral, because if you need that person's affection and they are shut down or withholding, because that could be a pattern too, but that's still a sick pattern of withholding. And then you become more needy, because it's like, oh no, it's like, now I really need it, and I need it more because they're refusing me, and then you get more demanding. But I mean, is there something in you that's like totally clingy? Well, there's a lot in me that's totally clingy, so I'm not going to pretend that I don't have any Klingon in me. But, and then I have to look at it and then say, well, why is that? And have I driven that person away because I'm so needy of them that they're freaking out, that they feel like they're being raped or molested, or that they have no space of their own and they're going to head for the hills even worse? So in which case, I think it would be really good if you took a look inside. And, I don't know if you're willing to do that. You've probably already turned off my answer, even though it was your question. Or is it a little bit of both? Is your partner shut down, and are you a little needy? So often the case. And wouldn't it be funny if your partner stopped being so shut down? You might discover that you don't want that much affection either, that it begins to feel intrusive. Has anybody out there ever had an experience like that? Don't, you be careful what you pray for. So that sometimes we are actually attracted to somebody because they are unavailable. That's part of our own pathology, isn't it? Like, oh, I'm looking for somebody who, I'm telling myself I'm looking for somebody who's really available, but maybe I'm not. And so then they become available, and then, okay, that's possible. Now, the other thing is, often, is there something toxic that is going on in your relationship that doesn't just have to do with affection? Right? Did something happen on your third date that has never been discussed and cleared up? Did something happen? Oh, you lost a child, and you never really were able to come together around that. There are a million things. Or your partner may be angry at you because you want them to make money, and they feel like they can't, or make more money, or that you're, and there are so many things that are toxic in relationships, and people don't necessarily think we need to get some counseling. Now, I noticed that the person who asked me this question did not mention whether or not she happened to be a woman with a guy, that's whether she had even talked to him about getting counseling. Oh, she'll say, oh, no, I asked him and he said no. Well, that was 6 years ago. Maybe he's willing to change. Or maybe there's another way of asking it. Maybe some of that has to do with the fact that you're saying, I want to get some counseling with you, because the fact is you're such a jerk. You're not giving me any affection. So let's go to counseling so we can fix you. That is not an approach that is likely to work, but you might say, I wonder if there's something in our dynamic, in our relationship, that is keeping us apart. And that is something that just about everybody who's human, and I'm assuming that you all are, has experienced. Don't you
Although
think?
I'm not so sure about you, if after all, you may be part Klingon.
That's true. So, all right. So now I've just given you a very brief idea, but what I guess I'm saying is get to the bottom of it. Maybe the guy just doesn't love you, you know, in which case you better find that out now. Or maybe it's just the wear and tear of daily life and all of the unresolved issues that people have that build walls between them over the years. Or maybe it's fear of intimacy on one or both sides, because you do have to ask yourself why you picked that lug to start with, right? Am I making sense to you?
Yeah, especially when you use those high-level psychological terms.
Very psychological, very therapeutic. So now, what can you do? Well, the first thing is, can you avoid being angry? Okay, Carly said, keep it up, Granny.
Yeah,
Thank you.
right on,
We've
Granny.
got one person out there in the audience. It wasn't Carly, by the way, but if there's one person out there in the audience who needs to hear this, so I'm so delighted. So can you avoid anger? It's really difficult. When you feel hurt or you feel rejected, it is really, or you feel alone. I just do very badly in those situations, and I tend to get angry. And when I get angry, it's harder for the other person to get honest, right? So if I'm like angry,
It's easy to get defensive.
Oh, very, very. So you see what it is? It's like, okay, I'm trying to get you to admit what a jerk you are, and I do this. I admit it. And then what happens next? Todd says, yes, you are making sense. Thank you, Todd. So, if you want to work it out with the partner, you can't just dump all your shit on them, even though you may want to. It doesn't work. And, so if you approach the partner and say, I really want this relationship, I really love you, but this is painful. I want to see if we can get some help, some counseling to work this out. I happen to be a counselor myself. I'm an intuitively guided counselor, which means I don't come from my head. I just sense things. I look out on the mountains and things come to me.
Yeah, things come to you about the person.
Oh, yes. I mean,
from their unconscious.
Right. I see, I can see what happened to you when you were 2 days old, which may be contributing to this. But any kind of counseling would probably help if the person is good, Now, if your partner says you've approached them properly, you're not dumping on them, you're feeling like, all right, I've tried. Supposing your partner says, no, I don't want to get counseling, and I'm not going to do anything about it. Well, then the next question is, how do you live with this situation? The first thing is, don't blame yourself. If the partner of yours doesn't have the capacity to be affectionate, but of course you're going to discover that he's going to get very affectionate with his second wife, right? But maybe he will have learned something from your relationship, and so you should bless him and say, I'm glad you learned something, and I'm glad the next woman gets him, or the next man, or whoever it is, because it doesn't matter if you're gay or straight. So, but don't blame yourself if your partner really has a problem. Go into counseling for yourself if you suspect that you may have some issues that are causing some problems. Can the two of you care about each other enough to find a way to reduce the pain on both sides? For example, let's say I can't tolerate physical touch because I'm in physical pain. And if I'm touched, it's too painful. Or I'm in emotional pain, or it reminds me of being, raped by my father, or whatever it is. Can you and that other person work it out so that they can say to you, what can I do? Or you can say to them, what can I do that will give you that feeling of being loved, even though you may not have that physical affection that you're looking for. So that is a real statement about a relationship, your ability to work things out with the person you have. Not easy. And of course, this applies to just about everything that has to do with relationships. And if not, if you and your partner do not care enough about each other to make some adjustments to find a way to give and receive affection in a way that works for both of you, are you willing to leave the relationship? Right? And if not, why not? So, does anyone else have anything to share tonight? Want to remind you that we have growth tonight, which is our after video conference, which happens at 7 o'clock Pacific time. And we get together, we talk to each other. You get my intuitively guided support. The first one is free, so go to our post and click on growth, or go to the event and click on growth. And it's every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Pacific time. And don't forget that tomorrow night we have Dreams of Peace again, which is our improvisational piano concert, 15-20 minutes also, that is having astounding responses from people, love and likes. We have like over 350 likes already on last week's, and it's still growing, and wonderful comments, and it's all around the world. So tune in. And you don't have to tune in at 7 o'clock. You could Pacific time.
And it's reached thousands of people.
Of people. You can tune in anytime. So I see that no one has dared to contradict me tonight. So anything from you, sweet baby James, before we call it a night and get ready for growth? Our Granny Rocks Our World to Heal.
Well, I was thinking that when you raised the question, why wouldn't you leave the relationship? Well, a lot of people stay for security.
Yes.
And they just kind of learn to live without so much love.
Right, and then they get angry. And Tracy had a very good point. She said, just had the thought that this applies to other types of relationships besides just intimate relationships. You're exactly right. This is the template for what appears to be inequality in relationships, and I'm glad that you brought that up. So I hope this helped. I really do. And I hope that the person who asked me this question watches this on YouTube tomorrow and pays attention and asks herself all these questions and is willing to be self-honest, because self-honesty is always the key to everything, isn't it? So we are on again Monday with Grow, and tomorrow with Dreams of Peace. Lots of loves. Oh, we're getting all these loves from our audience. I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. Please like the show, share it, and tell people about Grow and Dreams of Peace. Until then, bye-bye.
Be happy.
Or at least be conscious.